White. I'm the head of design for Philips Television, and I'm here this afternoon with my colleague Piotr, who's here from Smart TV, and we're here to give you a bit of a story as to the experience of Philips Television going into 2017. So you'll see not the full range in this room, it's very much the highlights and some key specifics that we want to explain to you. So to get going, there's a small introduction about myself. I was asked to do this, so basically the background being I'm Scottish. This is me out for a daily walk in Scotland, lovely weather. Daily walk to your office. Yeah. So I've been out of Scotland for 25 years, but it's still very much what I see as being home. So I go back there for a lot of inspiration, and I do tend to end up in places like this. But having said that, I did leave 25 years ago. So I left primarily for a career. As I grew up, I knew I wanted to go to art college and I wanted to travel. So art college led to studying furniture design, which gave me an opportunity to work in product design. Travel ended up being very much part of the job, but it's also an opportunity as a designer to learn about different cultures, different consumers' needs, expectations and cultures that influence the design of the products that we bring to market. So it's very much driving a designer's experience, and the fun part of traveling around the world in order to bring what you see in this room. So an example of this is what you see here. You probably recognize at least one of these men. On the left is the Antleman from Berlin. And you probably know that also he almost disappeared in the early 90s when the wall came down and they tried to commonize the road signs. But it's very much now part of the culture of what being Berlin or being a Berliner is. So they see this man and his jaunty walk with his hat as being part of what Berlin is. On the right is an animated road crossing from Taiwan. And he also has a hat on, and the way he walks is quite unique. So again, it becomes part of the culture and part of the reason to be a Taiwanese person, that you identify with these elements throughout your culture. This was a photograph I took in Singapore. So in Singapore, many people live in high-rise apartments, but they also aspire to own a large German car. And this conflict is then enhanced when you see people who live in a high-rise building with a Mercedes who choose to do this to their car. So not to say that it's good or bad, but it's really interesting as a designer to see how people personalize, customize their environment. I really appreciate the fact that you didn't get the Mercedes-Benz straight either. It's kind of squint at a certain stance. But to understand the drivers behind these choices that people make, why they want to communicate that as their own identity, is the beginning of delivering a product that meets those people's needs. This is me. Basically, I'm from Edinburgh. I worked in Tokyo with Toshiba for 4 years, but in 1996 I entered Philips in Eindhoven, and from then until now I've worked within the world of Philips, different parts of the world, in Asia and in Europe, different categories. But quite large. There's a lot of television in those years, and latterly in the last 8 years I've been first of all in the Amsterdam design Philips team running home entertainment, and for the last 5 years for TP Vision, myself and the team have been responsible for all those display devices that you see listed there. So the design team, who are all ex-Philips in fact, we are there to create product directions for the product design itself, also for the communication. We evaluate trend design and map that onto future product generations and new material exploration. So we also identify what materials we need to have at hand in order to deliver the products to the users. This is a positioning movie I would like you to watch to understand.
To furniture, from art and cars to architecture. European design is everywhere and all around us. From the golden ratio to linear perspective, Europeans haven't just done design, we invented it. For as long as Philips has been around, design and a fascination with light's potential have defined who we are. A philosophy embodied in Ambilight, the definitive immersive viewing experience. Now it's time to bring Ambilight and European design to our new range. Meticulously crafted, gorgeous new materials, beautifully simple lines, led by our flagship, the 9002 OLED, with explosions of color, deeper blacks, unrivaled listening experience, and of course, Ambilight, extending design beyond appearance. A sweeping range of stunning new models, because looking better never went out of style.
Okay, so that gives you some background as to where we are. Obviously there's a lot of focus on the product, but I hope you also took away a very clear message on that of Ambilight. So you saw the Ambilight performing on the wall and also extending onto the Q bulb as an extension to the overall experience. So that positioning that we see here as a European design house linked with the strength of Ambilight is where we want to go forward. And as such, we need to explain how we got there. So as a European design statement from a brand such as Philips, we first of all have to understand what does that mean. So as a design team, we've created a few rules for ourselves, but also something that we can measure what we're delivering to be consistent as a brand message across all of Philips, but specifically in our case, obviously today for television. So have a clear direction that expresses the product's inherent purpose. So that might be automatically, or you might think that's simple, but as you approach any product, it should be very clear what the product is, how you hold it, how you interact with it, and basically we promise that this is a deliverable that as a design house we need to bring to all the products that come to market. The second one is basically about no extra unnecessary decoration. So in the point of sale in a shop, we want the consumer to come through the door and see a range of products from all competition, but we want them to recognise our brand from 10 metres as something interesting. We do that by means of using quite unique form factors, as you saw from last year's OLED, with this rather perch-like floating detail of a stand for the OLED. So from a 10-metre distance you should see something that attracts you. From 1 metre, when you get up close, you should find something that convinces you to buy the product. Authentic materials, and exploring the use of material that allows us to create new archetypes. So archetypes are basically what the shape of the device, in this case a television, is. So if I asked you all to draw a television, you would draw a rectangle with a neck and a base. But then how do you play with those? Obviously the product doesn't want to fall over, so how do you make it stable, but how do you make it unique in the market of television? So that's something that needs to be part of our DNA of the products. The last of these points are finessing the details. So when all these metal parts, aluminium parts come together, they should come together in a way that convinces you that this is a product that has been loved and finessed in its journey through the creation process. So the front and back and all these details make sense. So that's not only for the product, but also for the remote control. So this is the remote control for this product, which is the usual number of keys on the top side. But as a Philips brand, we also bring a keyboard on the back for ease of navigation. So we deliberately split the keyboard so that people with small hands or children can easily navigate the smart TV functionality on screen. Then the user experience itself, obviously it's an Android platform that we use, but on top of that we then layer on our look and feel, on the icons, on the behaviour, on the colour, fonts, those kind of things. The reason that we do that obviously is that it makes the whole range make sense, but it also means if you pick up another Philips product that's driven by the same platform, then there's a consistency and easy to understand usability. So going back a step, how do we get to that end product? We do that by looking at trends. So we have a trend program that runs annually, and so the work that came out for 2017 was done in 2015. So we start at the bottom, we look at long-range societal trends that are changing society in a way that will therefore pile up to change what the product expectations are. In the case of 10 to 30 years, things like who's buying the products changing. People are living longer, and younger people start to have more say on which product we buy. Self-expression means that together with miniaturization, people expect to be able to show off by means of the smart devices they have in their pockets or at home. So that starts to be the base layer, on top of which we have the reality that we live in a smartphone life. And people start to live a life with a digital persona. So those two are obviously closely linked, but we also recognise over the last 5 to 10 years, that given the crisis, since then, over the last 5 years, there's been a lot of re-evaluation of what people's expectations are for the living room, for their lives, for the products that they buy. So they're probably a bit more serious in their purchase intent over the last 5 to 10 years. And at the top of the triangle is obviously more recent, and that miniaturization continues. So this TV that you see here is extremely slim, so the bezel's largely disappearing. Having said that, the size of the screen gets larger. So today it's 4K, but we know 8K is coming. And the reality of 8K will mean that this wall could be a television if done well. So what does that mean for the expectations of the home and of the consumer? Internet of Things, so obviously it's all around us, and so far a lot of it is questionable in the value that it brings to lives, but for sure it's the beginning of something that we need to be able to be in control of as a brand, and how we link into the Internet of Things systems. And lastly on this is basically, given that society is expanding in the bandwidth of the high-end consumer and the entry level, we also have to have products which fit with all those expectations. So a condensed version of that is the annual trend book. So we do that by going to all the usual events such as Milan and other trend events, but then also going through trend blog sites, etc. Sources to then identify the key trends that are driving what will be the 2017 range. These 5 trends were what we identified 2 years ago. We then visualize them in a way that is like a mosaic or a collage of key products, key experiences at the time. It doesn't mean that we design for all of them, but we understand them all in order to understand that our products might exist in a home with these different trends visible. Pursuit of happiness. Basically, you probably understand most or recognize most of these objects: fashion, colors, chairs. And this is very much on trend today, but it's not necessarily what we are as a brand, and certainly not as Philips Television, but we have to recognize it and understand it. In contrast, art of boredom is very much a trend that we want to drive, because it fits that purity, that brand fit that we have of delivering quality for the consumer who wants a bespoke environment, selecting products that fit. Happy looking chap, right? So, what's that?
I said he looks bored.
Yeah, it's the art of boredom. So to address this boredom, we then go deeper: values, drivers, and product user experience. So through those, we understand the values he's expecting. He doesn't want light and flippant products. He wants things that deliver and communicate respectful use of materials and don't look like they're wasting money after the recession. They want to be convinced and be able to convince their friends that they're investing wisely in smart products. And overall, the use of craftsman-like metal details, frames. Those are drivers of product user experience. We then understand what's going on in the furniture world and the interior world. So basically that echoes the same trend that people are expecting minimal use of real materials, something which is comfortable to sit in but overall is not too decadent. So that reality in furniture, and then also potentially quite contrasting use of metals but also coppers. You see the hotel is actually full of this trend. You see the lamps, for example, is driven by a lot of the same reality. Which takes us to the sketching. So we spend a large part of September sketching, and this is what you see here, also in the posters around. So that takes us into defining details for the brand, the stand, the sound, and also identifying new brand archetypes. So at this point I'm going to walk around these 4 products. Feel free to come up closer to have a look, but basically this is the flagship for 2017 first half. This is a 9000 OLED. So as an OLED you have an extremely slim bezel. From the side view, if you get closer you can see it's extremely slim. 3-sided ambilight. And that ambilight then floats below and lifts the TV visually off the table. And by means of this brushed aluminium stand, as you see here, linking with the chrome brand signature, there are those fine, refined details which communicate value but don't overpower the overall perception of the product. So as a statement of slimness and high-end OLED technology, 9. We're going to go over now to the 7, which is over here.
One question.
Yeah.
The light of the sign isn't going out when I'm watching TV.
The light of the what? The brand.
The light of the
You
sign.
can, by means of the remote control on the screen, you can turn it off.
And you have to turn it off. It's not automatically.
It comes out of the box. It's on. And once you select off, it's on.
Okay.
You can also make it less bright as well. So for the 7000, this is very much a performance play. So 7000 is an LED and dark metallic brush detailing, as you see here. Again, the 3-sided ambilight. And in this case, a matching dark chrome, matching the dark metal aluminium frame. And also with a front-firing sound. So the front-firing sound is recognizing that as the products get slimmer, if we want to have powerful sound, it's good also to have front-firing sound because it directs the sound straight at the user. So at this point I'm going to hand over to Piotr to give you some highlights of what the smart TV can do for you.
Okay. So what I wanted to show you here is what we're bringing with our new OS version. So all our 2017 TVs will be released to the market with Android M, a marshmallow version of Android. So the UI of the TV is not changing, it stays the same. Most of the improvements in the new OS come as under the hood improvements and optimizations. One of such improvements is the ability to support HDR via Netflix. So once we will go to Netflix, you can see that some of the episodes or some of the titles are supporting now HDR picture quality. So this is how the Netflix indicates. So we'll play this title, and after a while of buffering, we should see also a pop-up from our TV that the TV is now streaming in HDR. So this is how it goes. Looks. That was HDR from Netflix, and the next thing which I wanted to show you is actually a thing from future. So that's a concept on which we are working on. It's not something which we want to release yet, which is a thing related to the IoT, Internet of Things, which is basically area of devices connected to internet. So what I have here today is Philips Hue bulbs, which you probably already know. Those are those internet connected light bulbs, which I have in those two lamps. And I also have Google Home, which is a loudspeaker made by Google. It's only on sale now in the US, but the functionality which I wanted to show you is called Google Assistant, bless you. It's called Google Assistant, and that functionality will be rolled out soon to Android M phones across Europe as well. First UK and Germany, and after that also to other European countries and languages. And the idea behind Google Assistant is a voice assistant system which understands our natural speech and with which we can communicate just by speaking. So the first demo which I will do is related to hue lamps. So I can say, hey Google, change lights to red.
You got it, changing two lights to red.
So those lights just in front of you have changed their color. And the other thing which I can do is to also control the TV. So please take in mind that this is just a prototype functionality for now. Okay Google, please play Ed Sheeran Shape of You from YouTube on Philips TV.
Alright, Shape of You from YouTube. Playing on Philips TV.
Yeah, so it's in 4K. But we would like to also hear sound, yeah? So, okay Google, set volume to 50%. Okay Google, set volume to 30%. Okay Google, pause. Okay Google, go to 10 seconds. So in your home environment, the speaker wouldn't be set up next to the TV, so you wouldn't need to be close to it like I'm right now. You just openly speak from distance to it. But basically we are able to control the TV via voice. That's the idea. We're working still on this. We are analyzing if we are going to introduce it via Google Assistant or